This is how it starts صح واحنا كنا في سبات عميق 200-300 سنة.
هذا نحن
فلما نشوف شوية ضوء يعني الآن
احنا ما the future is unwritten. شوف
is unwritten.
You should have got that, man. I love stuff like that. The future is unwritten. المستقبل غير مكتوب. New York City. Times Square 4:15. It was a good trip. الحمد لله ما في أحد وقفنا، ما في بوليس وقفنا بالمرة. It just went very smooth.
As you know now, the US is considered a superpower, it's the #1 superpower in the world. Why do you think it reached that level?
Because of racism, money, evilness, vanity, all kind of stuff like that. Material thing, the government. I mean, all together equal one. You know what I mean? That's why right now America is a superpower. In their mind, it's not the superpower. The superpower is something that we cannot figure out the way I feel about it. Because we're human beings and supposed to live as one. You know what I mean? All that superpower, America is not a superpower. No, I don't believe in no country has no superpower.
Well, I think Americans are very ambitious, and we want everything, and we want more of everything.
The U.S. was founded on the principles of capitalism and individualism, of every man for himself, which makes for an incredibly competitive atmosphere, which makes for people struggling as hard as they can to get ahead and to be the best of the best.
What's your opinion on Iraq? What's going on these days?
It's political. It's all about oil. Well, you know, the CIA and all that, they helped Saddam out in Iraq. They helped him with his war with Iran. It's like the book by Mary Shelley, Frankenstein. In the end, Frankenstein had to kill his own monster. U.S. created Saddam, we had to destroy him.
There's a level of involvement. I think the U.S. has definitely breached that level of involvement. You know, many times they're more concentrated on trying to convert other cultures into the way that they think, as if their way of thinking is good for everybody.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of the U.S. invasion of Iraq. I'm not in favor of the U.S. continuing to arm Israel. I'm not, these are things that probably maybe people in Saudi Arabia wouldn't know about a young American woman, that I might have this perspective.
What do you think about Islam and Muslims?
I love them. I have no problem with nobody. Honestly, me, I don't believe in no race. I think not race, religion. I think that's the biggest problem in this world right now, because that was the first thing to start conflict, religion. To separate people, because That person is Muslim, that person is Christian, that person is Jehovah's Witness, that person is the Rastafarian, that person is that. So I don't have no religious belief. I love everybody.
From September 11th, I know that it was a particular type of people. I know that all Muslim and all of Islam they're not responsible for it. And that's how I take that kind of belief with everything.
I don't believe anybody can say they believe in a God and then go and kill somebody in the name just because I don't worship your God.
In an ideal world, everyone can do their thing as long as it doesn't harm anybody else. Whatever. That's how it should be. Everything should just be accepted as long as people aren't, killing each other.
Islam is a big, powerful, beautiful religion that serves a lot of people, and like every other major organized religion, the only time it becomes problematic is when it leads to violence or when it leads to intolerance.
If you believe in Allah, then, I totally support you if that's what you believe in. However, you have to be willing to do the same for others. You have to let live. You can't. And, all the violence and the war and the fight and all that stuff, it doesn't solve anything. America is based on, it's a country built on greed and stepping on people and trying, of course, taking things away from people. So, just focus on your God and what you believe in and raise your nation and let, the rest will take care of itself.
Dennis,
that's all I think.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. We're here نحن في هذا الموقع وهذا unconventional heroes أبطال غير عاديين وهؤلاء هم الذين يعترضون الأشياء التي في الحقيقة يجب على البشرية أن تعترضوهم فهؤلاء الآن سينالون جوائز بسبب معارضتهم ومخالفتهم للأشياء التي تأباها الضمير البشري من العنف ومن القتل ومن الاضطهاد والظلم وهذه الأشياء. فمن ضمن هؤلاء عندنا أحد اسمه كريغ كوري وهو أبو ريتشل كوري راحيل بالعربية وهي التي كانت في فلسطين وللأسف هي قتل وبعضهم يظنون أنهم الذي قتلها عمدا وبعضهم يقولون لا كان خطأ والله تعالى أعلم ولكن على كل حال هي قتلت هناك في فلسطين وكانت هي أمريكية شابة أمريكية صغيرة وكانت في هذه صورتها هنا ريتشل كوري وهي شابة أمريكية كانت في رفح وهي تدافع عن بيت طبيب فلسطيني. الإسرائيليون اعتدوا على البيت وأرادوا هدمه وهو الرجل ما كان عنده أي اتصال بالمعارضة هناك ولا بالحماس ولا بالإرهاب ولا بأي شيء. وجوده فقط في منطقة تعتبر منطقة إرهابية. فهذا نوع من للأسف الشديد هو نوع من التهمة الجماعية أو الذنب الجماعي. لا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. هذا مبدأ إنساني وليس فقط قرآني. ففرضا لو قلنا أن فعلا هناك إرهاب وهكذا هذا لا قانون في أي قوانين من قوانين البشر تقبل أن تواخذ إنسانا لم يشارك في الذنب. فهي وقفت أمام بيته دفاعا عن البيت وأمريكية وكانت في بداية دراستها في الجامعة ومن أذكى النساء وأذكى الناس. أنا قرأت رسائلها فنحن هنا لنلتقي مع والدها وإن شاء الله غدا سنلتقي معه. وهذا يعني أنا أعتقد الموقع هذا يمثل المعارضة المعارضة هنا في أمريكا، وهذا يعبر عن كثير من شعور الأمريكان. مثلا رأينا هذه شابة هي تشتغل بحماس على ما هي تراه أنه من الخطوات المخطئة والخطيرة التي تخطوها هذا البلد. وهذا من ناحية من محاسن أمريكا، أن هناك فعلا أناس ضمائرهم تأمرهم بأن تعارض وتخالف ما ترى من المنكرات، وهذا كذلك يعبر عن هذا. وهذا لا أقول أن هذا أكثرية الأمريكان، لو قلنا هذا هو غير صحيح. هذا لا تمثل أكثرية الأمريكان، ولكن تمثل جزءا كبيرا من المجتمع الأمريكي. أنا أعتقد في نظري تمثل جزءا كبيرا من المجتمع الأمريكي. فنحن إن شاء الله سنرى داخل. I'm getting to know this organization, Resist and Refuse, and I'm just curious, what are you all about?
We're a national resistance organization with chapters in different cities all across the country, and we're a membership organization. So we actually are encouraging people to become members of Refuse and
How
Resist.
many members do you have now?
Oh, we don't even know. I don't even know that.
Okay.
I don't work in the national
So
office.
what's the idea? Just resisting what?
Well, what our main premise is that we need to resist the whole reactionary agenda, and that we actually want to take on and build a movement of resistance that is not taking issues on piecemeal. Like a lot of organizations build things on like one particular issue. Like they'll do stuff on police brutality, or it's just a women's rights organization, they just do women's reproductive rights.
So you're like holistic approach.
But if we actually want to stop this growing police state, we actually have to take on all the
So
issues.
do you really feel that America is becoming a police state?
I think that
It's just a strong word.
I mean, yeah, no, it's an extremely strong word. I think that we need to actually recognize the signs of what it means to be a police state. And that's why I think that the Courageous Resistor Awards has become such a major big deal, because it actually is able to connect the dots.
Okay, so this is to award people that are out there speaking out against things that are maybe unpopular to speak out against.
I mean, also it's that these people are making people take these individual acts and they become whatever reason for their consciousness, they decide to do this act of resistance.
They inspire other people.
And then it actually reverberates. Like, I don't think they take this act and they think, okay, this is going to make a huge impact all across the world. But actually they do something and they make the right decision and actually impacts the rest of the country. And and you have these people who are just doing things individually, and the fact that we're actually bringing all these things together to actually make a collective force of resistance actually is very inspiring.
So Samina Fahim Sundas?
Yes.
Yeah. And are you a citizen here in the
Yes,
States?
I
Where are you from originally?
Originally from Pakistan.
Okay, and you're the executive director of the American Muslim Voice.
Yes.
Well, what does that entail?
Well, after 9/11, the whole world is calling us terrorists, Muslims, and I used to be a national coordinator for American Muslim Alliance, trying to just empower the Muslims and
the AMA.
AMA.
Right.
So we were just, empowering the Muslims and encouraging them to become involved in local politics and vote and all that. But 9/11 changed everything. It just set us back about 10 years. And all of a sudden, we are being called terrorists.
Right.
And even though that is a very credible work and somebody needs to do that, my focus changed and my interest changed. I realized that if we really want to become involved, we must go and build bridges with all the communities and build really true coalitions with the mainstream organizations. So that's what I started doing. I found
that's what you're involved in. Now, why are you here tonight?
I'm here to just say no to, President Bush's policies.
Did you come from San Francisco
I
just
came
for this event?
Just for this event.
The song is called Change. How will you change? How will you change?
Right now there's a war in the world right now, and we can read
So
the,
you
we can
thi-
listen to what George
there's
Bush
a
is saying.
war on the
That
world?
he's saying that this war is going to last for generations, and
Right.
people need to be used to this normalcy of what the world's going to be like. Well, there's a domestic analog to that, and that domestic analog is a growing police state in this country.
Okay.
And so you cannot, the U.S. There's no way they can go across the world and plunder and have an axis of evil and have a whole plan of how they're going to like terrorize the whole world, and not have a plan for what's going to happen here. And that what's going to happen here, I think, is potential for signs of a growing police state.
Now, if you had one thing you wanted to tell the Arab world, the whole Arab world, what would it be?
That the people in this country, people who are in this country who are Americans, live in this country, but they do not subscribe to the ideas of the people who actually run this country, and that we want to send a message to the people of the world that we actually have much more in common with them than the people who rule this country.
So
right
the
now.
people of Iraq, what would you say to them?
I would say to them is that we think that they have a right to self-determination, that they have a right to live, they have a right to exist, and that we extend a hand to them, that we have much more in common with them, and that we want to build a world with them and actually not build a future. We want to build a future with them versus build a future with like George Bush and his people.
We breathe in the air, we take in the bounty, not a care for the earth, the health of a country. But how about the people? How about the strife? Yes, how about thinking about better life?
On March 16th, 2003, a young woman named Rachel Corrie from Olympia, Washington, was standing halfway around the world in front of an Israeli military bulldozer, trying to prevent the demolition of yet another Palestinian home. As she stood with her bullhorn, trying to stop the destruction, the bulldozer crushed her and then ran over her again. Rachel had moved to Gaza, along with many other activists from around the world, to work as a volunteer for the International Solidarity Movement. This nonviolent organization sought to provide aid and assistance to the Palestinian people in their daily struggle to end the Israeli occupation. Rachel Corrie was a rare and special individual. She believed passionately in the prospect of a free Palestine. Tonight, Rachel's parents, Cindy and Craig Corrie, are here to say a few words again on behalf of their extraordinary daughter.
In our family, Rachel was the artist and the dancer and the singer and the writer and the poet and a hell of a fun kid. And I know she's having fun tonight with all this that's going on here, but I also know that as the activist that you all know her as, that she'd be, I think she'd be sort of bemused to be honored at all, but she'd be very, very proud to be here with these people tonight. And if I can get my little note open here, I'm wondering if she was thinking about tonight when she wrote, I look forward to more moments like February 15th, when civil society wakes up en masse and issues massive and resonant evidence of its conscience, its unwillingness to be repressed, and its compassion for the suffering of others. I look forward to more teachers emerging who teach critical thinking to kids in the United States. I look forward to the international resistance that's occurring now, fertilizing analysis on all kinds of issues with dialogue between diverse groups of people. I look forward to all of us who are new at this, developing better skills for working in democratic structures and healing our own racism and classism and sexism and heterosexism and ageism and, and becoming more effective. Thank you for this honor. Cindy?
Thank you. Rachel would think us remiss if we failed to tell you
that when she stood between the bulldozer and homes in Rafah that day, that 7 other internationals from the United States and the UK stood with her at great risk to themselves against occupation and oppression and for human rights, for self-determination and freedom for the Palestinian people, for nonviolence, and for our shared humanity across borders and cultures. Joe, Will, Tom, Richard, Nick, Alice, and Crick all stood with Rachel that day. Rachel would think us remiss to fail to acknowledge the Palestinian people who stand every day resisting nonviolently as they go about their daily lives as best they can under incredibly threatening conditions. Rachel would think us remiss to fail to acknowledge the Israelis who stand with Palestinians and internationals resisting home demolitions and the building of an ever-expanding apartheid wall. Rachel would think us remiss to fail to acknowledge the 3,000 Palestinian prisoners who, at this time, are in a hunger strike demanding the protections to which they are entitled under the Geneva Conventions. Rachel would think us remiss to fail to acknowledge the Jewish Americans who stand in opposition to the occupation of Palestine and to the role of the U.S. government in that occupation, and who tell us that they are working to save the soul of Israel. It is for all of these resistors that we humbly but proudly accept this award that is given to Rachel. I intended to close, and I'm going to close anyway with some of the words that Amy chose to share with you. My daughter's plea, written from Rafah in the weeks before she was killed. This has to stop. I think it is a good idea for us all to drop everything and devote our lives to making this stop. I don't think it's an extremist thing to do anymore. I still really want to dance around to Pat Benatar and have boyfriends and make comics for my coworkers, but I also want this to stop. Thank you.
الحمد لله رأينا والدي ريتشل كوري استلم الجائزة لتضحيتها وتضحية بنتهما، ونحن إن شاء الله سنلقاهما يوم الأحد في المظاهرة ونتكلم معهم ونسمع منهما إن شاء الله. وأنا كذلك كتبت قصيدة مدحا لما فعلت بنتهما، فإن شاء الله سأقرأها عليهما. السلام عليكم.